Hello, I'm Marion from Marion's World, and today's tutorial is all about how to make the detached blanket stitch. I'm going to show you on a calyx of a flower and also a little bit of flat detached blanket stitch. Now you do see this referred also as detached buttonhole stitch, but buttonhole is actually a different stitch entirely. I'm using 6 strands in my needle to make it more clear, but normally I would probably use 2 or 3 strands to do this stitch. I've anchored down a little bundle of yellow threads across the middle. I'm just going to pull them up, and I'm going to pull this green over the top and go down. And all I'm doing is making a foundation for the detached blanket stitch to be on. I'm going to pull that in tight. Just do two goes across there. Now I'm working from the right to the left, and that's because I'm left-handed and I'm working towards me. I've come up again at this side, and it really is just blanket stitch that you're doing through this foundation thread, and I'm going to show you in a little aside how to do this on the flat. But all I've done is made a blanket stitch around that thread, and I pull it not tightly, but I'm not leaving it too loose. I'm going to go across that thread, and I'm going to make every blanket stitch just nestle up to the one previously. I'm not going through the yellow at all. I'm just picking up that green foundation thread. I'm going to work my way right across to the side that's beside me, and you get a lovely little row of blanket stitches. Now you can use the eye of the needle if you want, or you can use a blunt needle to go through, but the idea is that you work your way right the way along to the other side of that foundation, and when you get to the other side, your needle goes down at the bottom of the blanket stitch depth, and you can come back up on the other side just the next row down. Now this time you've already got the blanket stitch there, so this time we're just going to pick up the blanket stitch loop. I'm just going through the loop of the stitch on the previous row, and when you finish this you shouldn't really see any of the underneath colour because I'm covering it all up. And come back up again. When you want to narrow things in, it just means you need to miss out a stitch. It's like you're sort of knitting 2 together or crocheting 2 together. So I can come along and I can miss that stitch out and just come straight to the next one. And as long as I'm pulling my stitches firmly, it'll just pull in a nice way, and that way I can decrease the stitches that I'm doing through that stitch. And take it down to the bottom. And I'll do one last little pass. I did just pick up that yellow there by mistake. Never mind. Just going to put this last few stitches in here, and I'll finish off. So that's how to make a little flower head. If I want to make detached blanket stitch on the flat, I just have to lay in a straight stitch, come up at the beginning and do the exact same thing. I'll show you this because I can show you the padded version on here. So I'm pulling these blanket stitches nicely together without them being too tight or too loose. I fill the line up, and you can see the row of blanket stitch there, and anchor it down, and I'm just going to come up one thread down from where I've just gone in and put a line, a stitch straight across to the beginning. I'll come up one thread higher, and this time I'm going to do my blanket stitch into the previous row and under that stitch as well. This will pad the blanket stitch out. So I'm picking up the previous loop and the stitch, and I'm still making my blanket stitch, and I work back along the row. You're always working each row in the same direction, whether you're padding it or not. If you're working right to left, you need to work right to left for all of them, and if you're working left to right, the same. You need to do it the same way every single time. When you get to the other side, you anchor it down exactly the same. You could do this towards an outline. Come up, lay in your thread, come back up just above, and you're ready to do the next. And when you come to the end, you just anchor down in exactly the same way as any other stitch and finish off behind. But what you do have is a lovely little piece. It's only attached at the edges.